everyone. Welcome to our second virtual combination yoga and Pilates class. I'm so glad that you joined us today. I'm Jennifer. I'm the owner of Auburn Yoga and Pilates, and let's get started. So I'm going to be using a foam roller today, recognizing that many of you do not have foam rollers at home. What you can do is you can take a fairly dense blanket and you can try to tightly roll it. So what I did is I took this Mexican blanket here. I was experimenting before class and I tightly rolled it. Now, in my case, what I found when I tried to use this is it was a very good substitute for the foam roller. The only issue is that my torso is longer than this roll. So what I ended up having to do was take a very small pillow and put the pillow under my head, and then it worked perfectly. So feel free to use that as a substitute if you don't have a foam roller handy. If you have a foam roller, and I know that in some cases some people have even used some pretty firm pool noodles, then what you can do is you can start off by laying back on the foam roller. And again, you want to try to get your entire spine aligned to that surface. Now, we'll start off with just some chest openers. So first thing we'll do is actually not really extensive core work, but just some arm circles. Now, I should have mentioned, if you don't have a roller, and if you cannot find a suitable blanket, you can just do these on the floor. You will miss out on the additional balance challenge that the roller provides, but you will still get some benefits. And then reverse the direction of your circle. So trying to exaggerate these arm circles, making them fairly large. Next time we're going to hold those arms vertical. So arms are vertical. And now allow those arms to go out and in. So this is where you will get a little bit more benefit if you are on an elevated surface, because your wrists can descend a little further than the height of your shoulders. And last one of these. And now we'll hold those arms up and we'll bring one arm by our ear, maybe it goes past our ear, and one arm beside our torso, and switch. So sort of tracing the exterior of a rainbow with this one. And last one. Now taking those arms both down by your side. So because you are on an elevated surface, whether it be the roller itself or a rolled blanket, you may feel a little unsteady at times. So if you're feeling unsteady and you'd like to modify, take your feet a little wider than your hips. On the other hand, if you're looking for a little bit more of a balance challenge, you can bring your feet and your knees together. So we're going to start off by just alternating the leg lifts, lifting from the hip. So lifting that right leg and that left leg. So hopefully you're finding that when you lift that leg, that you need to engage those abdominals. You need to pull those abdominal muscles back toward the spine. Now, if you're feeling unsteady, feel free to leave those arms down by your side. If you're feeling relatively balanced, you may want to try to lift those arms vertical. Whatever surface you're on, you want to try to avoid rocking from side to side or shifting the distribution in your weight. Trying to remain as steady as you can on that rolled blanket or on that foam roller. Those of you who are on an unstable surface and trying this know that this is much more challenging than it looks. So we'll try one more on each side. And then drop those arms down to your side. Now we'll take those legs up into a tabletop position. And you want to try to bring your knees directly over your hips. From here, alternate the leg drops down. Now your leg, your toes, may not go all the way to the floor. That's okay. You can shorten the range of motion if you do want to make it easier. And then taking those legs down. Now, from here, we'll bring those knees into the chest and bicycle those legs. So very, almost identical to a traditional single leg stretch. One leg is out, one leg is in. Switch. And taking those legs in. Now, from here, if you're able to, we're going to take those legs straight up and do some leg drops, down and up. Now, you may be able to drop those legs significantly more than I am. You want to maintain your rib cage in contact with that roller. My hip flexors are a little sore today, so I'm not dropping those legs that far. Last one. Take those knees in, drop them down. Now this is a little coordination test. We're going to go back to those alternating leg lifts, but as we do it, we're also going to do a rainbow arc with the opposite arm. So, lift and drop. Lift and drop. Now, if you keep that opposite arm on the floor, like I'm demonstrating right here, it's much easier than if you place that hand back on your hip and try to do the same thing. It takes much more concentration. Really squeezing all the muscles in that torso. So again, if you're watching this, you're probably thinking, that's not challenging. But if you're following along, you know that it really is challenging. And just a couple more. And last one. Now, probably almost ready to get off of this roller. We will do one more, okay? We'll take those legs into the chest, squeeze those legs together, and we'll extend and draw them in. So extend, draw them in. Bringing the legs closer to the floor is going to be more challenging than bringing them up toward the ceiling. Try to find somewhere in the middle. Two more of these. Last one. And coming off of that roller. Now taking that roller and placing it under your hips. So if you were using that rolled blanket, you can do the same thing. So lifting those hips up and sliding that roller right underneath. You want to try to get it right on the flat spot on the back of your hips. And then those legs come out. So now coming into the Pilates single straight leg stretch. So we'll pulse, 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 pulse. So this can be done, of course, on the floor without elevated hips is a modification. However, you'll find here a little bit more hip flexor opening because that ankle, the lower ankle, can drop below the level of the hips. And 3 more. And now from here, keeping those feet together but bringing those knees wide so you're in basically a butterfly type position here. Again, knees are wider than the hips, feet are together. From here, extend those legs for froggies. So this is another one similar to the leg drops and a couple of the other ones that we did, where if your legs are closer to the floor, it's going to be more challenging than if your legs are more vertical. And obviously there are lots of places in the middle. Trying to go into full leg extension, and then really trying to draw those heels back and toward the hips. Last one of these. Now, taking those legs up, we're going to do a variation of that single straight leg stretch that we did before. So basically we're going to pulse, pulse twice, and then do a helicopter, which is a semicircle with the leg. So it's pulse, pulse, semicircle. I'm a little too close to the wall. Pulse, pulse, semicircle. So single, single, helicopter. Single, single, helicopter. I'll say it a couple more times. Single, helicopter, and then I'll let you say it to yourself so that it doesn't become annoying. Keep that routine going. And last one. And take those legs in. Take those knees wide. So coming into a little variation of those froggies that we did just moments ago. So lengthen, out, in. So press out, extend out, in. Five more. And now, reversing the direction, taking it out. Focus on the in, draw the heels toward the hips. Out, in, heels to hips. Out, in, heels to hips. Five more. And last one. And now, taking that roller out from under your hips and placing your feet on the roller. Now this is where it may not feel quite the same if you're using a blanket. However, if you have an exercise ball, like a stability ball, or you even have one of those small balls, even something similar to a small playground ball, we call them bender balls at the studio. Sometimes they're referred to as over balls. You can use those, or you can keep your feet flat on the floor. You'll miss out on a little of the balance challenge, but you will still feel something. So, feet are hip distance apart. Lift and drop those hips for a bridge pose. So here, you could still try it with a blanket. You would get the benefit of having an increased range of motion, but you would miss out on that stability challenge. Two more of these. Now, really turning up the volume. If you're on an unstable surface that you can move, come up, bring those heels in and down. Up, heels in, come down. So you should feel a strong hamstring sensation when you draw those heels in. And even though it's a very small movement, it's a very powerful movement. And 4 more of these. Last one. And dropping it down. Extending those legs. Now, keeping those legs on that lifted surface. Now modify, feel free to simply do some abdominal crunches. Or those of you who feel a little warmed up and stronger, you're used to doing Pilates, then coming into the roll up. So arms are long, inhale to prepare. Exhale, coming up and slowly coming down. And again, inhaling to prepare, exhaling, coming up. So abdominal crunches will work. You can always take your feet off that elevated surface. That will make it a little easier. Trying to draw those legs as much as you can toward the midline. Slowly coming down. And 3 more. Two more. Last one, and then we'll move into the yoga portion. So, side and grabbing hold of a strap or a belt. And since we're already supine, why not stay here? So, if you're feeling comfortable doing so, you can lengthen both legs. If that is not comfortable, at any point, put a bend in one or both of the legs. Now taking that right knee into your chest, keeping the length on both sides of your waist. Take hold of that strap, place that strap around the ball of the foot, and come into a nice, strong hamstring stretch. So, especially if you just participated in the bridges with the little tucks, you'll probably find this stretch especially delightful. Try to really be specific about where you place the strap. Be sure that it's around the ball of the foot and not around the center of the foot, because then you can really pull into the strap, putting that foot in a flexed position. Pointing that pinky toe of that lifted leg in the direction of your belly button. And then, taking both strap tails into your right hand, allow that leg to drop out to the right. Now, ideally, you're not quite as close to the wall as I am, and you have a little free reign of movement. It may be, however, that when you let this leg drop over, that this opposite hip lifts up a little. If that is the case, you could take that blanket or those pillows or some sort of block, and you could place it, I'll put it here so you can see it, just outside your hip, and it will catch that leg. And then bringing that leg back up to the center, switching hands. So now your opposite hand, hold those strap tails, extend your right arm up to the side, and allow that leg to drop over. Starting off just a little, don't let the opposite hip really lift up off of the mat. Try to get a sensation through that outer hip, that outer thigh. We will have the option of going a little deeper momentarily, but for now, just holding it here. Now, still trying to keep the back of the shoulders down. Allow that leg to keep going across the midline of the body. Now, you can bring this upper leg as low as parallel to the floor. Try not to go beyond parallel to the floor. It may be that, like me, you're not quite parallel to the floor, and that's okay. Now, you can adjust the sensation in this pose with that left arm. You can tug the leg a little closer to the torso. You can ease the leg a little further from the torso. It's entirely up to you. But getting the benefits of the twist and the outer hip and thigh stretch. If you're able to, look to the right. Bringing that leg back up to center, removing that strap, knee to the chest, extend that leg, and the opposite leg comes in. Taking that left knee into the chest, trying to make sure both sides of your waist are equally long. If that left waist is shortened, please think about bringing that left sitting bone toward the inner arch of the right foot. And then grabbing hold of that strap and placing that strap around the ball of your foot. So if this is too much for your hamstrings or back, feel free to put a bend in that lower leg. Drawing that pinky toe toward your belly button. And then grabbing hold of that strap, allowing that leg to drop over to the side. You want to keep that opposite hip down. Now again, if the leg moving over is causing you to lift that opposite hip, then place something under your leg to support it. It's like bringing the floor up. Taking that leg up, switching hands. Left arm out to the side. Allow that leg to drop over. Again, finding a stretch through that outer hip and thigh. For now, we're keeping that hip fairly grounded, the bottom of the hip. This stretch should feel differently than the stretch that we're going to go into momentarily, where we do lift the hip and allow the leg to go a little further over. And now I just have to move a little further away from the wall because I'm definitely going to hit. You can allow that leg to really cross the midline of the body. Letting it go as far as parallel to the floor. Trying not to let it go past parallel to the floor. But feel free to adjust that leg up or down, based on how deeply you want to go into the stretch. Bringing that leg back up to center and dropping that knee, extending that leg. Now, rolling over to one side, lifting yourself up and coming into an all fours position on that mat. So lining up those wrist creases so that they're parallel to the short end of the mat. The big toes point straight back. And allow your chest to drop down and forward. Imagine that you're pressing your heart through the threshold of your arms. And then switch. Expanding that back body. And move between cat and cow. hold a neutral spine. Let those hips fall back toward your heels. You can stretch your arms completely forward. You can let your arms straight by your side, or you can use your hands to prop up your head. And then stretching those arms nice and long. Shifting forward to an all fours position. And you want to make sure that those wrists are slightly ahead of those shoulders. Then curl those toes under, lift those knees and hips, pressing back to downward facing. Now hopefully, because we did those hamstring lengtheners first, you're feeling a little more spacious in the back of your legs. You may still need to bend those legs, and if you do, that's okay. But you may find yourself better equipped to lengthen those legs, draw those heels toward the floor. And dropping into an all fours position. Now you can do this next move with or without blocks. If you have blocks and you try it with blocks, it's really going to turn up the volume on what you're doing. If you do not have blocks, you are certainly able to use, if you have books that are about the same size, they will definitely work in this circumstance. I'm going to do one with blocks and one without. So, what you can do is place those wrists slightly ahead of those shoulders and come back to downward facing. Now, you're going to know, this is going to be your little self-test. You're going to know if your down dog stance, if the distance between your hands and your feet are appropriate when we do this next one. You want to be able to transition from down dog into plank without having to walk your feet forward or back. Shoulders right over wrists. Now from here, flip those feet, press into up dog, and then drop down to those knees, come back and rest. Now in up dog, ideally, the only thing touching the mat are your hands and your feet. So it's not a cobra pose. Cobra is different. And although people often think that it's an easier pose, it's actually a much more challenging pose. In up dog, you do have to really fire those legs so that the upper back doesn't take over. Okay, trying it again. Now, if that was quite enough for you, then you want to do the same thing without blocks. Those of you who are looking to turn up the volume a little bit, you want to make sure that your blocks or your books are on a very stable surface and that they're not susceptible to sliding. So many of you do have yoga mats at home. If you have any sort of surface that is going to stick them in place, you definitely do not want to place foam blocks on a normal carpeted surface. because the blocks will probably, and you don't want to, end up in a face plant of any type. So from here, curl those toes under and coming back. So it's the heels of your hands that are at the edge of the block. When you do this with a block or a book, you may find, if you take a look at my heels are on the floor here. They generally don't quite get to the floor in my traditional down dog. This increased height changes things a little bit. Now, shifting forward to that plank, same thing. And then flip those feet. The up dog, it really does turn up the volume here. Shoulders over wrists. And then drop those knees, press back. So we'll do just one more of those sequences. Believe it or not, we're almost done the yoga portion here. We've been going for almost 45 minutes total. So this little sequence, this down dog, plank, up dog sequence, commonly done in vinyasa yoga, especially combined with other poses, but you can see that it combines stretch and strength. So from here, coming into down dog. Nice long arms, pressing all of your knuckles into whatever surface you're resting on. Shifting forward to plank. Coming into up dog. Drop those knees. And pressing back. Resting in child's pose. Coming up into an all fours position and flipping back over into supine. Bending those knees, planting those feet. And then bringing those feet toward the midline. Taking your right leg, crossing it over your left. Arms come out to the side, shoulders stay down. Lift those hips, swing the hips to the right. Try to align your spine so that it's parallel to the long end of the mat. Allow those legs to drop over. To the left. Legs coming up to center. And bringing those hips back to center, switch. So left leg crosses over. Lift those hips, swing. those hips over to the right. Align your spine parallel to the long end of the mat, and then let those legs drop to the right. So you can bring your knees closer together. You can bring your knees further apart. You can bring your knees closer to your torso. You can bring your knees further away from your torso. All different things you can do to change the twist. Find the twist that feels inevitably the most beneficial for you. Bringing those legs back up to center, bringing those hips back to center, extending those legs. You can always rest those legs on a blanket or a block if it's difficult for you to lay supine. Bringing yourself into a place for final relaxation. So getting comfortable. If you heated up during this practice, you may even want a blanket over you, or some people will place a blanket simply on their hips or on their thighs, just as a way of grounding themselves a bit more. Especially these days, we can really never feel too grounded. Bringing your attention to your breath. Don't try to change your breath, just try to notice it. Not making any judgments. Relaxing your legs, letting them melt into your mat. How relaxed and grounded can you become? Relax the muscles surrounding your spine. Relax your arms, relax your chest, relax your belly. Relax your neck, relax your jaw. Relax the creases around your eyes and those in your forehead. And then bending your legs, planting your feet. bringing movement into your limbs. Slowly and gently rolling over to one side. You may choose to stay here for a little while. You could use a blanket or a pillow to prop up your head if you do decide that. Or you may decide that you are ready to come up into a seated position. Feeling grounded through your sitting bones. Feeling lifted through the crown of your head. Closing that chain. The light within me salutes the light within you. Namaste. Thank you for joining me live, or thank you for joining us on playback. I hope you're enjoying these videos. As long as we keep getting positive feedback, we will keep doing them in the hopes that it's keeping you active and healthy. During this somewhat challenging time, we can't wait to be back face-to-face with you. But in the meantime, we would definitely love to hear from you. So thanks again for joining, and have a great day.